Have you ever wondered how ancient wisdom can still be incredibly relevant in our modern world? Imagine learning life lessons directly from the source, the wise elders of rural Zimbabwe. This video brings you their authentic voices, sharing 10 powerful Shona Proverbs that offer enduring insights into community, values, and the profound beauty of a culture rooted in generations of wisdom. For generations, wisdom in Zimbabwe has been passed down not through books, but through stories, proverbs, and the voices of elders. These oral traditions carry lessons about life, resilience, and community, lessons that remain just as powerful today. In this video, Storytelling Through 10 Shona Proverbs, Voices from Zimbabwean Elders, invites you to learn directly from those who have safeguarded this knowledge for generations. By the end of this journey, you will gain a deeper understanding of Shona culture, discover practical life lessons rooted in lived experience, and reconnect with timeless wisdom that still speaks to the modern world.
The first proverb is,
Ane Benzi, Ndeane Rake, Kudzana Unopururudza. Ane Benzi, Ndeane Rake, Kudzana Unopururudza.
Means that when you are familiar with someone's negative traits, their foolishness, you won't be surprised or offended when they act in foolish ways. You'll just accept it as their nature, like whistling along to a known tune. It speaks to acceptance and understanding people's inherent flaws. Literal translation: he who has a fool has his own foolishness. Dancing, you whistle. Meaning, in context, you know what to expect from someone foolish, so their missteps don't shock you. You just go along with it. Example. Application. In our small rural village in Zimbabwe, everyone knew that Uncle Temba had a sharp tongue and loved to gossip about neighbors, often saying hurtful things without thinking. When he spread a rumor about young Tendai stealing mangoes from the community tree, many people got angry and complained loudly. But Tendai's wise father just shook his head and calmly quoted the old Shona proverb,
Ane Benzi, Ndeane Rake, Kudzana Unopururudza.
Explaining that since they all knew Uncle Temba's foolish ways from years of living together as family, there was no point getting upset or shouting back when he acted true to his nature. That day, as the village settled down and forgave the gossip without holding grudges, Tendai learned the valuable lesson that understanding someone's known flaws helps you stay patient and peaceful, instead of being surprised or offended every time they show their bad side.
Chaitemura, Chava Kuseva. Chaitemura, Chava Kuseva.
This Shona proverb means that someone who once had very little now has plenty. It describes a person who used to eat sadza without relish, but can now afford tasty relishes and enjoy life. The proverb shows a big change in fortune, a move from hardship to comfort, or from poverty to prosperity. Literal meaning, someone who used to eat sadza, dry now eats it with soup and relish. Figurative meaning, a person's life has greatly improved. Their situation has changed for the better, often in an unexpected way. Example. Application. In the dusty streets of Glenview, young Tendai used to come home from school every day to a quiet house where his mother would serve only plain sadza on old plates. No relish, no soup, just a little salt if they were lucky, because money was tight and his father had lost his job years ago. But one morning, his father came back from town smiling wide, holding a letter. He had finally landed a good job at a new factory. And that very evening, the family sat together as mother proudly brought out steaming sadza, with thick peanut butter relish, juicy munyemba leaves, and even pieces of chicken in rich soup. As Tendai scooped the soft sadza soaked in flavor, his grandmother laughed softly and said, Chaitemura, Chava Kuseva. The one who used to eat it dry now enjoys it with plenty of soup, reminding everyone how quickly life can turn from struggle to blessing when hope and hard work finally pay off.
Chikuriri Chine Chikuriri Chine.
This Shona proverb means, what is great now will be smaller than another, signifying that no matter how powerful or big something seems today, something bigger or better will always come along, highlighting the transient nature of power, status, and size, and encouraging humility and perspective. Literal meaning, a big thing has another one, bigger, deeper. Meaning, it's a reminder that current greatness isn't permanent. There's always a hierarchy, and what seems dominant now will eventually be surpassed by something else, preventing arrogance. Example. Application. In the bustling Harare market, Tinashe proudly showed off his biggest pumpkin ever grown, bright orange, heavy, and bigger than any other on his stall, drawing crowds who called him the best farmer around and bought everything quickly, making him boast to his friends that no one could match his success. But the next week, old Mai Chipo from the village arrived with a pumpkin twice as large, perfectly round and even sweeter, which everyone rushed to buy while Tinashe's sat unsold, and as he watched quietly, his father smiled and said, "Remember the old saying,
Chikuriri Chine.
What seems the greatest today always has something bigger coming. So stay humble, my son, because pride falls when the next one arrives."
Chinobhururuka Chinomhara. Chinobhururuka Chinomhara.
This Shona proverb means what flies must eventually land, signifying that every action, journey, or phase, no matter how high or fast, must come to an end or face consequences, reminding people that things are temporary and come to a natural conclusion, whether good or bad. It emphasizes the cyclical nature of life, that success, failure, or a period of growth will eventually transition to a new stage. In simpler terms, everything has an end. No matter how high you fly, success, fun, power, you will eventually come back down to earth, reality, consequences. A lesson in humility. It serves as a reminder that pride or temporary success shouldn't lead to arrogance, as it's not permanent. Patience and perspective. It can also offer comfort, suggesting that struggles or difficult times will also end, just as successes do. Example. Application. In the busy streets of Chitungwitsa, young Kudzi had just bought a shiny new motorbike with his first big salary from the city job, zooming fast through the roads every day, waving proudly at neighbors, picking up friends, and feeling like the king of the world who would never slow down. He laughed at those who walked or took combis, boasting that his good days would fly forever. But one rainy afternoon, the bike skidded on wet tar, crashed gently into a ditch, and left him with a broken leg and the motorbike needing expensive repairs. Sitting quietly at home while his mother brought him sadza and relish, she touched his shoulder and said softly,
Chinobhururuka Chinomhara.
Whatever flies high must one day land, reminding him that every exciting time, just like every hard time, comes to an end, and the wisest people stay humble and ready for whatever comes next.
Chirere Chigokurerawo. Chirere Chigokurerawo.
This Shona proverb translates to, nurture a child
so that they may nurture you in return. This proverb emphasizes the intergenerational social contract within Shona culture, rooted in the concepts of Hunhu or Ubuntu, humanity, togetherness. Key meanings and implications. Reciprocity. It highlights the expectation that the care and sacrifices made by parents and elders for the young should be reciprocated when the parents are old and in need of support. Filial responsibility. It serves as a moral and cultural obligation for children to care for their aging family members. Holistic rearing. Rearing a child involves more than just providing food and shelter. It includes instilling positive morals, values, and wisdom in them. The expectation is that a well-raised child will remember these lessons and pay it forward. Community values. The proverb underscores the importance of community and communal support systems, discouraging individualism. Essentially, the proverb encourages diligent parenting and reminds the younger generation of their duty to honor and support those who raised them, thereby ensuring a supportive cycle of care across generations.
Example application. In the quiet evenings of rural Murewa, Amai Rudo spent years waking early to fetch water, till the fields, and cook sadza with relish for her 5 children. Even when money was scarce, she made sure they went to school clean and fed, teaching them respect, hard work, and the importance of family, while her own back ached from carrying babies and firewood. Now, many years later, with gray hair and tired legs that no longer walk far, Amai Rudo sits warmly by the fire in the same homestead as her grown children take turns bringing her fresh vegetables from their own gardens, paying her clinic fees, and sitting with her to share stories and laughter each weekend. As her youngest daughter gently massages her feet one night, Amai Rudo smiles and says softly, "Chirere Chigokurerawo." Raise a child well, and that child will one day raise you, reminding everyone that the love and care parents give always comes back when old age arrives, keeping the family circle strong through Ubuntu. 6.
Chisi, Hachiyeri, Musi, Wacharimwa. Chisi, Hachiyeri, Musi, Wacharimwa.
This Shona proverb means that the consequences of bad actions are not always immediate, but they will eventually come to pass. The proverb is rooted in the traditional Shona custom of Chisi, a sacred day of rest, or Sabbath, where agricultural work is prohibited. The full meaning relates to this tradition. Literal meaning: a Chisi day, or sacred day, does not show its sacredness or exact its punishment on the very day it is violated, by working. Figurative meaning: it serves as a moral lesson that wrongdoing or disobedience to rules and social norms may not result in instant repercussions, but punishment or negative outcomes will inevitably manifest at a later time. Essentially, the proverb teaches patience, accountability, and the belief that actions, whether good or bad, have lasting consequences that will eventually catch up with a person. Example application. In the fertile fields of Mazoe, Baba Tendai always laughed at the old ways, saying Chisi was for lazy people, and every Wednesday, the sacred rest day when no one was supposed to hoe or plant, he would sneak out early to work his maize plot, boasting to neighbors that he would harvest more than anyone by ignoring silly traditions. Weeks turned to months with good rains and strong crops, making him feel clever and rich while others rested. But one dry Wednesday, when everyone else's fields were healthy, a sudden fierce hailstorm came only over his land, flattening every stalk flat to the ground and leaving nothing to harvest. Sitting quietly among the broken plants as his wife brought him water, his father shook his head and said softly,
Chisi, Hachiyeri, Musi, Wacharimwa.
The day of rest does not forget the day you worked on it, reminding him that breaking important rules may seem to bring quick gain, but the consequences always arrive when you least expect, teaching us that patience and respect for customs protect us in the end.
Chisingaperi Chinoshura. Chisingaperi Chinoshura.
This Shona proverb means everything has a beginning and an end, conveying that no situation, good or bad, lasts forever, and even daunting or seemingly endless challenges will eventually resolve or change, often bringing a sense of relief or perspective that something difficult is over. Literal meaning, that which does not end is a mystery, or shame, or complex problem, with Chinoshura implying something complex or baffling. Figurative meaning, it's a message of hope and patience, reminding people that tough times pass, similar to English sayings like "this too shall pass" or "every cloud has a silver lining." Example application. In the crowded high-density suburb of Zivaresekwa, Sekuru Mutasa had been sick for many long months, coughing through the nights, growing thinner each week, visiting clinics and herbalists with no improvement, while the family whispered worries that this suffering might never stop and quietly prepared for the worst. Relatives took turns sleeping on the floor to care for him, money for food and medicine ran low, and every sunrise felt heavier than the last. But one quiet morning after the rains, Seguru woke up hungry for the first time in ages, asked for sadza with munyemba relish, and slowly began to sit up and laugh again. As the children danced around him and his wife wiped happy tears, he looked at everyone gathered and said softly, "Chisingaperi Chinoshura." What has no end is a puzzle too big for us, but everything else, even the hardest sickness or struggle, finally comes to its close, reminding them that no dark season lasts forever and that patience and faith always bring the day when the burden lifts.
Chitsva chiri Murutsoka. Chitsva chiri Murutsoka.
Chitsva Chiri Murutsoka means new things are in the foot, which signifies that you must travel or step out of your comfort zone to find new experiences, opportunities, and growth. It encourages exploration and venturing to different places to discover new things. Literal translation: Chitsva, new things or something new; Chiri is in or are in; Murutsoka, in the foot or by walking. Meaning and application: to experience novelty. Staying in one place limits you. Moving around brings fresh perspectives and adventures. To seek opportunity. New opportunities often arise when you are actively seeking them by exploring new environments. Get out of your comfort zone. It's a call to action to be proactive in your life's journey as new results come from venturing out. Example application. In the small village of Chinau, young Tafadzwa finished school and spent every day sitting under the mango tree, helping his mother sell vegetables at the same roadside stall, dreaming of a better job, but always saying tomorrow he would look in town because the walk was too far and the combi fare too expensive. His friends who left early each morning for Harare came back with stories of new work at markets, construction sites or shops, bringing home money for better clothes, school fees and even solar lights, while Tafadzwa's days stayed the same until one dusty morning he finally tied his worn shoes tight and caught the first combi to the city. By evening, he returned smiling wide with a new casual job loading trucks, enough pay to buy his family meat for supper, and eyes shining with plans for more. And as his grandmother ladled sadza with relish, she laughed gently and said, "Chitsva chiri Murutsoka, all the new things you want are waiting in your footsteps," reminding him that nothing fresh comes to those who sit still, but stepping out always brings the opportunities you've been praying for.
Chiri Mumusakasaka Chinozvinzwira. Chiri Mumusakasaka Chinozvinzwira.
This Shona proverb translates to, "That which is in the thicket hears for itself." The meaning of this proverb is that people will only take advice or listen to information that pertains to their individual needs, circumstances, or interests. It implies that unsolicited advice is often ignored unless the listener finds it personally relevant. Example application. In the busy Mbare market, Mai Chipo spent the whole morning warning every young vendor she met to wrap their tomatoes carefully in newspaper so they wouldn't bruise on the long combi ride home, but most just smiled politely and carried on packing loosely because their tomatoes looked strong and they wanted to save time. Only when quiet Rudo, who had been listening nearby, saw her own tomatoes getting squashed the day before and lost half her money, did she quickly grab old newspapers and start wrapping each one gently, while the others watched in surprise. As Mai Chipo passed by again and saw Rudo working carefully, she nodded and said softly,
Chiri Mumusakasaka, Chinozvinzwira.
What is hiding in the thicket hears for itself, meaning that real lessons only sink in when the problem touches you personally, and advice finally makes sense when your own heart feels the pain.
Charova sei chando, chakwidza hamba mumuti. Charova sei chando, chakwidza hamba mumuti.
Translates literally to, how cold must it be that a tortoise climbs a tree? The meaning of this proverb is that extreme situations, hardship, or unusual circumstances can cause people or things to behave in unexpected, extraordinary, or uncharacteristic ways. The context is that a tortoise, hamba, a cold-blooded reptile that stays on the ground, would only climb a tree, an unnatural behavior for it, in response to a very extreme and unusual threat or condition, such as freezing temperatures. This illustrates that dire necessity can force even the most unlikely actions. Example application. In the dry season of Mutoko, Baba Muchaneta was known by everyone as the quietest, most stubborn man in the village. He never asked for help, never borrowed money, and always said he would rather sleep hungry than speak up at a community meeting, even when his maize crop failed year after year and his children wore torn uniforms to school. But one scorching week when the borehole broke down completely and the nearest river dried to dust, leaving no water for drinking or cooking, neighbors woke up one morning to find Baba Muchaneta standing nervously at the front of the village dare, speaking loudly for the first time ever, asking the headman and everyone gathered to contribute money for a new pump. As people stared in shock and then quickly opened their pockets to help, old Sekuru Gomo chuckled and said softly,
Charova sei chando, chakwidza hamba mumuti.
How cold must it get for a tortoise to climb a tree, reminding them that only the harshest trouble can push even the most proud person to do what they never thought they would, and that sometimes real hardship brings out the bravest, most unexpected actions.
A timeless legacy, our shared future. The journey through these Shona Proverbs shows us that the wisdom of our ancestors is not merely folklore. It is a practical blueprint for navigating modern challenges. Whether we are managing a startup, leading a team, or simply farming a piece of land, these proverbs offer timely counsel against arrogance, impatience, and isolation, providing a framework for ethical decision-making and community resilience. Their applicability, from the need for humility when successful to the necessity of mutual support, proves their transformative power. Share your stories, foster dialogue across generations, and celebrate this enduring legacy. By consciously integrating traditional knowledge into our daily lives, we honor the past and actively shape a stronger, wiser future for everyone.
Please subscribe, share, and comment.